What's going on, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Ask A CISSP. My name is Ryan Williams, and this show is for me to answer your questions, right? So I am a CISSP with 18 years of experience, and what I'm trying to do through this platform is reach out to those who are trying to either break in or moving up the ladder. It's not the exact opposite, but it's a different formula from the other side of the Firewall podcast, or you talk to those movers and shakers and glass ceiling breakers, those people who are in the C-suite and senior level positions. We're trying to spotlight those people and basically give them a platform of voice to inspire us to work our way up to those positions as well. So, it's a cool concept we've been working with. So it's just not me talking to the void. But with all that being said, so today I have a special guest. So Jarvis Bryant, how are you doing?
I'm pretty good. How about yourself, Ryan?
I can't complain. So if you could just introduce yourself a little bit, let us know what you currently are doing and what you're trying to do in cyber.
All right. So I'm Jarvis Bryant. I'm currently active duty Army. I have about 16 months transition. Well, until I transition. And basically what I'm doing is just trying to break into tech. I'm networking with a lot of individuals that are already in the field, trying to figure out my niche that I specifically want to go in, and also gathering certifications and different skills that either I'm told to do or that I'm researching that, is the best thing to break into tech, and trying to find the right company and the right situation that will work for me long term.
Well, that's what's up. And you seem to have a formula going. So that's great. James Carroll III referred you. So he was our guest last week. So it's becoming somewhat of a tradition where Tish referred James referred you. So I love to see it. It's good to see everybody's building their network and what have you. So what do you currently do in the Army?
So right now I'm in logistics. I'm a 92 Alpha, which is an automated logistical specialist. And so I've worked in like motor pool side, which is basically ground maintenance. In my position, I work on the computer side of ground maintenance. So anything dealing with making sure the system is updated so that the higher, echelon of like the leaders can see it as far as what's down, what's up, what needs maintenance, different things like that. I worked on that side. Then I've done the aviation side where the same thing, but with aircrafts, different system, obviously different system for a different, facet of logistics, but ordering those parts, make sure those aircrafts are up, letting the higher echelon know what's up, what's down, what needs maintenance, different things like that. And then now I'm on the warehouse side. So pretty much in the warehouse, I am in the SSA for 115 BSB, which is 1st Brigade of the 1st Cav Division down in Fort Hood, Texas. So I'm literally, this one is a lot of, get up and going type of deal. Very fast paced, a lot of moving pieces and a lot of personnel. So that's what I'm currently doing right now.
Okay, no, that's what's up, and that's very specific. So I appreciate that. So why cyber? Because it seems as though you do have your hooks into it already, but why not logistics? Why cyber? Why you want to go that route?
So kind of a backstory. While I was on deployment last year, 2020, I began watching YouTube with a bunch of different videos on cyber. And so I was actually getting ready to reclass into 17 Charlie MOS in the Army, which is a cybersecurity specialist. And so as soon as I made my mind up that I wanted to reclass, I dove deep into, okay, how can I get certifications? But how can I get certifications provided through the military? So I started off with the Phantom Warrior Signal Academy. And so, spoke with a bunch of individuals there. They already, they're older. They have a bunch of certifications. They've been in these positions for 15, 20 plus years. And so they were giving me a lot of tidbits on, Professor Messer and different things to start to watch. And so I made my mind about the career change already within the military to switch from logistics to cyber. But then I also made in my mind, okay, well, if I'm going to be able to do this, and what if I don't want to go the military route? How can I pursue this in a transition standpoint? So that's when I started to, network with certain individuals. It started on YouTube. Then I got my LinkedIn up, and then it started to build from there. So cyber for me it's kind of what my passion has already been. I've been passionate about this since I was taking polymer science classes in high school. While I was in college, I wanted to do a little bit of cyber, but I was just like, yeah, I'm going to stick to ROTC in college. And then I was doing mass communications because my dream was to work for ESPN, but that quickly, went down the drain when I realized how much experience you needed to even get to ESPN. So cyber for me, it's a passion. I've always been interested in computers and working with computers. And also it's something that I feel like I can definitely provide for my family, in that field, being that it's a budding field. It's not going anywhere anytime soon. I can look at job security long term and feel comfortable about that, knowing that, I'm going to be working for another 20, 30 years with my age. So, it's just something that I feel that I can grow in. I can become, a pioneer in to a certain extent. So.
Okay. So what avenues in cyber do you want to go down? So cyber is an ever expanding field is what we say, right? Usually on these episodes. So it's ever growing. So what lane do you see yourself trying to pursue?
Absolutely. So in the beginning, I was thinking cybersecurity. Everything I was looking at was about cybersecurity. From there, it went to cloud computing. And the reason I switched over to wanting to focus on cloud computing was just because a lot of companies are going towards cloud right now. It's going to be something that you're going to have to constantly learn in, which I'm always doing anyway. I want to constantly be able to learn and expand upon my knowledge in a certain field, which you can do that with pretty much any field in IT. But the focus for me became cloud computing just because after I looked at it and watched a lot of people do it, it became a really interesting field for me. And so that's the reason why my focus is going to be on cybersecurity. And I have a lot of questions for you, obviously, going down that path.
Right. Okay. So yeah, I'm trying to figure out what you're going to ask before you ask me. is the trick that I'm trying to do. So I've asked you a bunch of questions. I'm probably gonna have more as we go along, right? Because I've worked with the Army. I've done joint for about a quarter of my career,
Okay.
and loved it. So like worked with the Army and the other services as well. So we're not that much different than one another. So a lot of stuff bleeds over. But what are your questions for me?
Okay, I have a list actually. I'm gonna try
Okay,
not to
well organized.
try not to
Okay.
be too scripted, but my first question is kind of basic, but it's how did you get started in the field of IT?
So for me, it was from the get go, right? So um, I was originally a computer science major. I very quickly learned that I have a cap when it comes to mathematics, and I hit it about midway through. So I made it to my sophomore year of college before I was beating my head against a rock and looking to get out of my city. So I'm from Buffalo, New York. I wanted to see the world, right, like everybody else. So I enlisted in the Air Force. I came in open electronics, which was kind of dangerous. I could have been anything, right? So luckily, they put me into data maintenance, is what it was called at the time. And since this has evolved, right? So I was hardware maintenance at one point. So learn how to build PCs, how to make them network, talk to one another, running field wire, phones, things of that nature. So building small networks in a tactical environment. Then from several different assignments, I picked up circuit actions, more advanced networking and infrastructure. I've even done cable maintenance, so layer one type stuff, fabricating cables, running cables, things of that nature. So I've touched a lot of different pieces from help desks up to cyber surety, information security. Like, so I've been fortunate. Every assignment has brought me something new. Like some people don't have that wide breadth of experience, but that's kind of what led me down the path to cyber. So the network is my bread and butter. That's what the Air Force paid me to do. But because of the multiple assignments and then working in the joint field and what have you, I've been able to set my hooks in the cyber and then pursue certifications and knowledge from that.
Absolutely. Okay, that's a great. So my next, well, you kind of answered that one for me. So when did you join the Air Force, which you just spoke on, and then why did you choose to get out of the Air Force?
So I'm still in. So I joined in
okay.
03. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm a 20-year or more guy.
Okay.
But so I joined in 03 after doing about a year and a half of college. And then I think I've been 5 bases. Oh no, we do the math. So test schools in Mississippi. From Mississippi, I went to Mountain Home, Idaho, which I didn't even know existed. That's where I did tactical. I worked with was doing data maintenance. I was doing telephones, cryptographic maintenance, things of that nature. A little bit of networking, but not really. From there, I went to Alaska. In Alaska, I was doing a lot of help desk work, a lot of client system work, a little bit of networking, a lot of crypto. And then I
Okay.
also had to do some cable maintenance while I was there as well, because they were renovating the entire building. So I'm running fiber cable, learning how to do, hot melts and stuff like that.
Right.
From there, I went to Virginia, and that's when things started to change. That's when I went into higher level networking. So I was at the enterprise level, doing a lot of cybersecurity, boundary standardization, modernization, things of that nature. So higher level, I got my CCNA while I was there, Site Plus, Net Plus. And then I went to what's called the Joint Communication Support Element, JCSE, out in Florida. That's an awesome unit. So from there, I was able to see 7 countries, work cyber, work tactical, work, and you name it.
Right.
Like jack of all trades while I was there, because they make you learn everything. So I'm doing VMs, I'm doing stuff that SATCOM, radio, everything. I'm all over it. And then from there, I'm now here in Turkey. So don't really want to project it, I guess, on the podcast, but I pretty much see this probably will be my last assignment before I transition to being a civilian. So,
Okay.
And this is when I started the podcast. Like I arrived here during the middle of COVID,
Oh, wow.
and yeah, in ROM, so restriction of movement is what we call it.
Yeah, same. Yeah.
And I was locked in my room for almost a month. So I was like, you know what, I need to get out. So I can't leave my room, but I can get out to the world by doing this podcast.
Yeah, that's extremely interesting. Because for me, so I've actually been looking into doing the fiber optic certifications that they offer in the Army, just to kind of build like my knowledge base. My brother, he actually was a 25 series, which is kind of they call it a cable dog, but
right.
He actually branched out, and he's out now working for Google doing fiber. So he was kind of a motivation as well. I'm the oldest of 6 children, so that's my younger brother. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
But,
so what's crazy is that you bring it up. So I'm currently in charge of the cable dogs. So I'm not one by trade, but because of my rank, I can lead different aspects of communications. And I love them. Like it's the most awesome shop I've been in the Air Force. Like they're very knowledgeable about what they do, and like I couldn't even imagine the type of work they put in, because I'm tactical comm, right?
Right.
So I don't care. I'm just dragging the cable across the field. Like, hey, hopefully nobody runs this thing over. But like these dudes are professional installers, right? So I'm learning how to actually install cable the proper way. So it's pretty cool.
Absolutely. All right. So let's see. I know you haven't transitioned yet. So me looking at your LinkedIn, I was thinking, like, okay, we transitioned, because I was looking at everything that you've done. I'm like, wow, this is amazing. I saw that you had worked for JSCE, and I was like, wow, like this is a lot of things that you've been able to accomplish. Now that I see 20 years, like I can imagine the things you've seen and being able to actually put hands on and look at. So for me, starting out, like I feel like that's a great, view for me to emulate. Like, wow, he's done this, and this. These certifications, like, so that's kind of leads into my next question. So what certifications would you recommend for someone that's starting out in IT or cybersecurity, or even cloud computing? Like, what certifications would you say would be the baseline to make yourself as marketable as possible, and then which ones to branch out from there?
That's a good question. So cloud has, like, so if you go Microsoft route, you have Azure fundamentals. That's what I'm currently pursuing. Because I don't know, I'm more of an on-premise guy. Like I've physically touched everything in the stack. So now cloud is the future, like you stated. So I'm like, I need to know as much as I can about the basics of cloud, so I can get to the part where I can secure the cloud, right? So I can get my CCSP is my ultimate goal for feeling like knowledgeable about the cloud. So working my way up to that certification. I would say definitely, if you want to go cloud, pursue, if you want to go Azure, you want to go AWS, pursue the fundamentals. But I feel, and just going through Azure fundamentals right now, that you have to have kind of a baseline of networking and security before going into it. So that's saying it's not impossible. It's just like, it feels like you would have some gaps if you just went straight into the cloud. So I would recommend your like tier one certs first, like
Hmm.
maybe ITF plus or A plus, or if you're already past that, go into your network plus and security plus. Excuse me, that's dry throat over here. But
Start.
I would say that those would help you out much better than just jumping straight into the cloud. I still think you should pursue the cloud, but I think beforehand you need to get your hands on some real equipment, right? So
Right.
pursue one of those lower certs and actually touch some gear and then jump in the cloud, because it's very abstract and it feels as though that you will have some gaps if you try to go straight into the cloud.
Absolutely. So I'm glad you said that, because for me, kind of my baseline knowledge. So I went over to a Signal Academy. The first class I took was the IT fundamentals, CompTIA IT fundamentals
Okay.
course. I passed that one. Then from there, I went into the Cisco networking and routing. So I went
Okay.
through that course. I believe it was like 2-week course or whatever. They kind of cram everything in you, and then at the end, you have to
Yeah.
set up a VLAN, and this, that, and third. So it was kind of difficult for me, but I feel like those two classes combined have prepared me for my next step, which is going to be Sec Plus and Net Plus, and then I'll branch off into some of the cloud stuff. So
Yeah, I
definitely.
definitely agree. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. So like, yeah, so you have the foundation, and you're working, like, you understand the concept of what a VLAN is, what a subnet is.
Right.
So yeah, you could definitely attack Network Plus. Um, and then from there, like Security Plus, it's gone through many revisions. So I think I took it in the either 200 series or 300 series. I can't remember.
Okay.
I got mine back in 2009, I want to say,
Oh yeah.
back when it was a forever cert. So before DoD and 2020 or 8570 and all that stuff, where it became you had to renew this thing every year. It used to be you just got it and you just had it.
Right.
There's a lifetime cert, and then things changed around 2010, 2011. Um, but I've seen the a recent revision, and that thing is no joke.
Oh yeah.
It's a very hard test. I'm just like, I don't remember it being that hard when I took it. I felt Network Plus was harder than Security Plus when I took both of those tests, but it's definitely, I would say, it's definitely attainable. It seems like you won't have any issues with it. But I know some people trying to jump straight into Security Plus, and like that's no bueno.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that thing is tough.
I can only imagine. I mean, I think they're on like the 600 or 700 series now,
Yeah, they're in the
something like
600
that.
series now. Yeah.
Yeah. So I know you've been able to see so much of that. I can only imagine. But me, I'm really just studying it up. I have the CompTIA book. I'm diving deep in the
Okay.
CompTIA book. I mean, page for page, chapter for chapter type of deal, taking tremendous amount of notes. But I want to go into the test over prepared rather than underprepared. So,
Oh yeah, definitely. Definitely. That's how I felt when I went to Security Plus, because I was more concerned about Security Plus than Network Plus. I was like, I do networking. That's my job. So I came in kind of cocky. So I studied probably 2 or 3 times as hard for Security Plus. Took the test. Was like, oh, okay. Wasn't as bad as I thought. I passed it. So I'm gonna take Network Plus same day. I was like, I'm already
right.
here. I got the voucher. Let's make this happen. And I got beat up.
Oh
I
wow.
still I still passed it, but I was like, I thought I knew networks better than I obviously performed in this test. So I would not recommend that, but both are definitely attainable. It seems like you're already on your way to that. And then what's also good about that is while you're practicing for your Network Plus is get your hands on some kind of gear, like maybe like an 8-port PoE switch or something. Like, don't spend too much money for the basics, but just either get a hand-me-down or buy a cheap PoE, maybe 8-port switch or two,
Okay.
and then network those, and you learn spanning tree and how to build ports, how to secure ports, all that good stuff on very cheap equipment. I would be surprised if you couldn't just go over to the Signal guys and ask the hand receipt something out. For people who are not military, hand receipt basically is like, if it's sitting on the shelf and it's something that you can use, potentially you can hand receipt it. So that's what I did. That's how I got my PoE switches. I found 2 of them in the closet, and I was like, hey, can I take these home? And they were like, yeah, go ahead, sign your life away, because you
Right.
lose them.
Yeah. You got to pay for it.
Right. You'll pay for these things. But I use that to get me through CCNA. So
Oh wow.
and it was just those 2 switches. I had 2 very cheap Cisco PoE switches and a handful of Ethernet cables, and I just learned how how it worked. Like this is how you build a port, this is how you build a VLAN, this is how you set up spanning tree, this is how spanning tree jacks things up. So I thought it was
Yeah,
pretty
so
good. Span ports, all that stuff you can learn just with two really simple and cheap switches.
that's a great recommendation. When I was sitting there and I was subnetting and I was, making sure all my IP address was correct, and then the instructor kept talking about, you're gonna do this in CCNA, but it's gonna be times 10. You're gonna do this in CCNA. So
Right.
I'm looking forward to CCNA actually, but of course I want to gain the other certifications to make sure that I'm prepared to take CCNA, because I know that it's kind of a culmination of everything on the networking
Right.
side. I'm actually looking into doing something that's kind of unheard of, but I'm going to ask my sergeant major, would she be okay with me cross training? Being that I'm getting out and I know I won't be in logistics, I know manning is a thing, but just ask like, hey, can I go cross train over in S6 and be around those guys for a few months to see if I can put that down as experience, and then actually sit there and learn from those guys. So that's something I'm trying to do as well.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Like be cross utilized while you're still
Right.
learning.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I obviously I can't speak for your sergeant major, but
Right.
potentially like they're already going to lose you, right? So they need to start helping you transition, and then
Absolutely.
you might not be able to do it during the day though. It might be like, go ahead and do that on your off duty time.
Yeah. I figured that. Okay. So what would you say the difference between what would you say is the difference between like cybersecurity and then IT? I hear so much about, someone says, well, I'm in IT, and someone says I'm in cybersecurity. Like, what is the difference in those two facets of the IT world?
So, because it comes down to fundamental definition. So, like obviously, IT is just dealing with primarily the hardware and networking aspect of information technology. So you're pretty much in that wheelhouse on that side. Cybersecurity is it takes some of those principles, but it's more of your lane being, I'm trying to secure the network, to defend it. I'm trying to potentially do digital forensics because we've been attacked, or I need to be on the lookout for persistent threats. It's frameworks and governance. So it's those guys who sit up in the security office. I say sit up like they're not doing something. They're doing hard work, right? But their job primarily is understanding how the framework works and how the organization has to comply within that framework. So when I say sitting, they actually do a lot of sitting. Like it's not plugging in cables and stuff like that. They're actually trying to figure out like how do I build the network to be to government standard, or how do I best government standard, or like, okay, something has changed. The framework is different now. We have different regulations we need to follow. How do we get the organization to be within that lane? I mentioned digital forensics. It's just a lot, but like that is more of the either you're in defense, or you're in, I'm trying to think, it's a DCO and OCO. So it's either offensive or defensive type cyber, where you're trying to attack or defend, as opposed to information technology is the building and maintenance of a network.
Got it.
Or systems within it, in my humble opinion.
Right. I mean, that's like the best explanation I've gotten. It's kind of straightforward and shows you the variations of it. So that leads me into my next question. How important was getting the certified ethical hacker cert for you?
So it was so different. It was something I never really dipped my toe into. So for me, it was like I had climbed a new mountain, so to speak. So it wasn't necessarily EC Council. It wasn't necessarily the specific certified ethical hacker certification.
Right.
It was me dipping my toes into just uncharted waters.
Right.
So I was a data maintenance guy. So I built systems, I maintained those systems. And I was a networking guy where I was making the systems talk to each other. Then everything was IT, everything was information technology. I was always on that side of the wheelhouse. Like, how do I make these things talk? How do I make sure they're maintained and they continuously run? But then the certified ethical hacker showed me a new lane. So this is how I look for threats. This is how I can aggress on a network, or how I can defend my network. It was just a different wheelhouse, and it kind of led me towards getting my master's in cybersecurity and information assurance, and then getting my CISSP, and things of that nature. Because a lot of what we do on the hardware side is defensive. Like I set up um, ports to make sure that you can't get into the network,
Right.
right? So I set up
Exactly.
sticky Macs, and I put port security on things. So I am still doing defensive cyber, but to a much lesser extent, as opposed to learning the tricks of the trade. Like, this is what malware looks like. This is what a potential threat vector is. This is how the kill chain works. Like, totally different wheelhouse. So for me, it was pretty important. Like, it kind of launched me into cybersecurity.
Absolutely. And just listening to you, I feel like it showed you a different view of both sides, the defensive and the offensive.
Right.
Me, I was adamantly looking forward to getting my CEH, but unfortunately they stopped offering it here at Fort Hood. So I'm gonna have to figure out another way to get that. But with CCNA, CEH, and then CISSP, I've heard so much about that. So that kind of leads me to my next question. How difficult was it to attain the CISSP? And then, well, I'll let you answer that question, and I'll give you my next question.
Gotcha. So the CISSP for me was the hardest test I've ever taken.
Mm.
It's they always say it's an inch deep but a mile wide, right? So it's all the domains. But again, not because I chose to go the route that I did, but every assignment has been different. I've gotten a different aspect, a different domain. So I had a lot of knowledge because I had touched systems and I had used them in certain ways. So when it came to, like, I think my best domains are like IAM, because I did a lot of that when I was working client systems and help desk, network security, because obviously I was a network guy. So I really get that part of the defensive cyber. There's a few others, but it was a culmination of just years of experience, and then it was extra hard. So, like, I think I studied the first time before I took it. It was probably 4 months, probably.
Okay.
From boot camp to test. And then that's when I felt confident enough to take the test, and I still failed it. So, wow. So then it was another, after I knew what I didn't know before, right? So you can take practice tests and things of that nature, but until you're sitting there and you're under the pressure of the adaptive tests and the amount of time it takes to get through the test, you then have knowledge to say, okay, this is how I can conquer it next time. Like, I have more endurance to get through it. And then I took it the second time, probably 2 months later. So all in all, I would say I spent a decade in IT. I spent 6 or 7 years in cyber. So 6 or 7 years of experience plus 6 months of devoted study led me to conquering a CISSP.
I got a long way to go. I got a long way to go, but I'm not afraid of that challenge. So my next question, help desk. So me being obviously trying to break into tech, how important would a position in help desk kind of add those tools to my tool bag and getting into the area that I'm, trying to go into? How important is a help desk position to really just helping you attain those skills to be successful?
Got you. So I always champion help desk. I always champion security plus. I think those are kind of really good entry points, right? So it's not everybody's journey. Like, some people just jump straight into pen testing.
Right.
I don't know any of those people. So everybody I've worked with is either come through the pipe of either they're coming from networking, they're coming from client systems and help desk, or some combination of the two, and working their way up the chain. So I value help desk because I think it gets you a lot of hands-on to not just hardware, but just this is how information systems work. Like, you're moving people's accounts, you're provisioning emails and things of that nature. Like, you're doing a lot of the things that are the building blocks to making a network do what it's supposed to do. Like the exchange of information, and a lot of that goes through the help desk. Is it frustrating? Yes, because you learn firsthand that technology is hard. Like, a lot of people don't understand, so you work with people who don't quite understand it or grasp it. So they want to do things that they just simply cannot do, or they want to not give you the proper information to get them to where they need to be. But on the flip side, you learn a lot of your gaps. Because like I didn't knew very little about Exchange. I knew very little about security groups. Like these are things I
Right.
didn't have to do on the networking side. Like I built the network. Like I know what subnets are. I know how
Right.
to IP things. I know how to properly cable these things up. But when it came to the actual what data is traversing my network, I didn't necessarily know how that piece of it worked. Like what is a DC?
Absolutely.
How does a DC work? Like things of that nature. So I think you get a bigger breadth of knowledge working help desk and working your way up than you do just trying to jump right into something. But you can. It has happened. Like I see people do it who they're not people I know personally, but
Right.
I see them either in talks or I see them on LinkedIn and what have you. But all the people I grew up with, they all went through networking, help desk, client systems, and worked their way up.
Absolutely. Okay, so I saw that you have a degree from WGU.
Yes,
Me,
sir.
I start WGU in February. I'm gonna go
Okay.
for the networking and information security. So that is what I was gonna do, but then I'm actually thinking about switching over to cloud. I saw that they have that option.
Okay.
WGU comes with a lot of certifications depending on which degree path you go. So, how was your experience at WGU with attaining your master's degree and then degree or no degree into the
Ooh,
IT?
that's
Yeah,
it. So I will answer that part after I answer the rest of it,
got it,
because
got
that's
it.
where people cut off the video. They're like, I'm not watching this anymore. Um, I don't know why it's so just tense when you talk about degrees versus non-degrees versus
Right.
certificates. I don't know. People go off the chain, but
Yeah.
so I really liked it. Like I wish they paid me money because because I talk so highly of them, right?
Right.
So what's crazy is so my associates through the Air Force is electronic uh, technology, I believe is what it's called. So basically, it's IT associates.
Right.
Um, and then at one point, I was going to get out of the Air Force. Like I just wasn't doing well in computer science. I didn't want to pursue it any longer. It wasn't that I didn't like my job. I just felt like I was being underutilized because I was
Right.
way more on the hardware side than I was on the networking side at one point. So I was like, so what classes did I enjoy? And there were psychology and sociology. So I was like, I'm going to pursue that. So complete 180.
Right.
I
Right.
was like,
I saw.
so
I,
my undergrad is in social psychology,
I
um,
saw that. Yeah, I saw that.
which has its benefits. Like believe it or not, when it comes to management, I think it helps me to listen to people better. But um, right after I finished that degree is when I got deep into networking. That's when I went and worked at the enterprise level, and that's when I started to pivot back. I'm like, okay, I'm not getting out. I like this. I like what I'm doing, especially at the level I'm doing at. Right. So I was overseeing 120 bases at one point. So I was like, hey, this is what's up. This is what I want to do. And I pursued my CCNA, got my Sec Plus, Net Plus, all that good stuff during that assignment. Um, and then from there is when I arrived at JCSE. I started working towards not I didn't know at the time, but I was working towards my CISSP with the stuff I was learning and the
Right.
stuff I was doing. So I was like, you know what, I want to pursue a master's in something that I care about. So that's why I went the route was cybersecurity information assurance. I was like, I'm touching pieces of this. I'm
Right.
really interested in this. Let me pursue this. Uh, and like WGU, like um, for a adult learner in the military, I believe, again, they're not paying me. I wish they would. Um, but it was very flexible. Like I was always out the door, right? So for that 5 years I was at in Florida in that command, I hit 6 different countries. So I was always out the door, and it gave me the flexibility where I could just knock out classes in between time. So like some of them were based upon competencies I already knew. So I take a pre-test and I'm like, okay,
Right.
I know what I know, and then this little piece right here is what I need to study.
Right.
Then other times when I got to CEH, I was just like, I don't know any of
Yeah.
this. Like this is something that's not in my wheelhouse. So I had to, those were the classes where I had to focus more and do more study. But all in all, I think I finished it in a year and a half, and
Right.
that's with a 3 month gap because I had to stop for 3 months because I was getting my PMP. So I
Mm.
had the opportunity to get it when I was at JCSC. So I was like, well, let me stop what I'm doing over here
Yeah.
and get this PMP because I'm already a planner. I'm already doing those things.
Absolutely.
Um, and yeah, it took me about a year and a half, but I enjoyed it. I thought it was worth the time and effort. It gave me some certifications, and it lined me up for the CISSP. So like the backbone of my degree plan and program was the CISSP. And shortly after I graduated, I got my CISSP. So obviously
Right.
it works.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
So degrees or no degrees? So this is gonna be taken out of context. I can already see it. You do not need a degree to be successful in IT, period. Everybody knows that. You don't have
Right.
to have a degree. Does it hurt you? No, absolutely not. Like people were like, oh, you degree, like you don't know anything. You just a book learner, whatever. A lot of IT and cybersecurity is book knowledge until you get your hands on it. Like
Right.
you need to know certain concepts and aspects of it. So I've never tell anybody to not pursue education. Like that's ridiculous to me. But I will say you can get into IT, you can move up and progress on just your ability to learn quickly and your ability to show your experience and your skills off while you're moving up. But while you're doing that, like people were saying, like, oh, I don't have a degree. Like you probably have more information than a degree would give you because you've been hitting the videos, you've been labbing it up, you've been hands-on experience, you've been working long hours. You know what I mean? Like some people
Right.
are those people, everybody knows that person who their shift is over, but they're still working on it because they just have
Right.
to figure out what the problem is. So
Absolutely.
in a way, they've done the same thing. They just haven't sat down and applied to a WGU or somewhere else. If they did, they would kill it. So paramount is experience. Like hands down, you need experience. Certifications help to show off that experience, and they also expose you to education um, and concepts that you wouldn't just get just by Googling, right? Like some
Right.
things you will learn, and then you can then apply them. And then the natural progression is a degree. So if you want to be in management, then yeah, definitely pursue a degree as you move your way up. So I think that hits everybody over the head. So
Yeah.
so I'm not targeting one group of people. Like I think all three are definitely like make you a powerhouse. But I think the most important is your experience, bar none.
Right. That is why I love kind of what WGU brings to the table because they offer you those certifications as well as the degree. It kind of, puts everything into
Yeah,
one.
goes
And
hand in
then,
hand. Yeah,
you can, with that knowledge, I feel you can learn how to do certain labs and different things to gain experience, even if you're not in a position like me, still being active duty. It's a lot, tough to kind of have a second job doing help desk or something like that. But you can learn how to lab through so many different ways, learn how to lab and practice and have these different
yeah,
projects that you're a part of, different websites and stuff like that. So um, thank you. Thank you for answering that. So
yeah. No problem.
what was your kind of likes and dislikes about WG? Really the
Uh,
dislikes more than anything.
I really didn't have any dislikes, to be honest with you. Like they again, so I could say if you're not the type of person who's self-motivated,
Mhm.
like if you need somebody to give you that push, you're gonna get it, but you're not gonna get it like if you were in a brick and mortar. So I teach a brick and mortar, so I'm able
Right.
to have eyes on students. When I see them not doing so well, I'm able to reach out to them in the moment, right? Like
Absolutely.
when going through WGU, I didn't necessarily have that, but I didn't need that. I've been an adult learner. Like the military makes you, like,
Yeah.
makes you study, makes you learn. And if you
Yes.
don't do well on those tests, they want their money back.
They
So
sure do.
that's your motivation, right?
That's the truth.
So if you're not a self starter, I would say online school in general is going to be hard for you. But it may be exasperated in this instance because you will have a mentor. Somebody will contact you like once a week and whatnot, which I love the guy, but I was like, I don't need this.
Right.
I was still nice to him. I took his phone calls. Like,
Right.
he still had cover. He was prior military as well. So
Okay.
we talked about other stuff than just, hey, get through this class. But if you're not a self-starter, I always say like this online school might not be for you in general.
Yeah. Well, luckily I don't have that problem, but I can understand exactly where that could make
Yeah.
a difference in your experience with WGU. So how was it working on the assignment with the NSA?
So I loved it. So that was my second assignment. They're the ones who got me the vouchers for Security Plus and Net Plus. I didn't test at the time because
Mhm.
it was weird. Like 8570 was coming down the pipe. Like
Right.
for those who are listening, 8570 is in order for you to touch a, DoD network, you have to have certain qualifications. So tier one is like your A pluses and Net pluses. Tier two is your Security Plus, CYSA, things of that nature. Tier three is your CISSPs, ISMs, um, things of that nature. So for my job, so I was went from 2E2 to 3D1. So I was more of a 25 November
Got it. Got it.
Charlie in the Army. It's kind of like a blend of those two.
Mhm.
I had to have a tier two to do my job. So I loved it. It gave me exposure to things that I normally wouldn't. Like I worked on systems that you're just not out there in the public. I worked on devices that I'll probably never see again,
Right.
but I have knowledge of them and how they work and what have you. I worked on several different types of networks because in the military we already have several different enclaves, but obviously when you work for certain agencies, they have
Right.
other types. So I worked on some older systems. I worked on some state of the art systems. Uh, Again, the money was pretty good, so they got me 2 vouchers. They sent me
Mhm.
to a boot camp. They flew me from Alaska down to the States for boot camp.
Wow.
So they were big into education and training. Um, it was just a really cool assignment, and it was in Alaska on top of it, which is a really
Yeah.
cool state to be in.
I've heard from a few people just about the experience in Alaska is really different, but it's also a
Yeah,
beautiful thing just to have in your life. The reason I ask about the NSA assignment was just because, I know once you're in the military, you have the opportunity to pursue government contracts or
yeah,
stay within government agencies. So just to hear about that experience kind of helps me decide, which path I want to go to when it comes to transition, picking a company or should I stay on the government side? Being that I have a clearance and everything, I can use that. I don't know if I actually have the opportunity to use my clearance on the civilian side, but if the opportunity, brings
yeah.
itself, then I will take
You'd be
advantage of that.
surprised. So not only do government contracts and things of that nature require clearance, some of them aren't government contracts. Like I saw some banks that asked for a clearance or ability to get a clearance.
Oh
So
wow.
I'm like, all right, that's a different route to pursue, right? So that and then you'd be working with a different framework. So I'm kind of interested in that myself because I think I had to write. I think my capstone was on PCI DSS, so the payment
Okay.
card industry
Right.
framework, and I really liked it. Like I was like, because I joke about all the time, like governance and compliance is really boring stuff, but for
Right.
some reason I still like it. And I'd really enjoyed learning that framework. And then I'm like, okay, some of these banks require a clearance, and I have a clearance, so
Right.
like maybe that's where I go to next. I don't know.
Yeah. I honestly, I feel for you with the amount of experience you have and like the different things, like even the assignment with JCSE, like being overseas and stuff like that. Whew, I can imagine kind of where you're gonna really find your specifics, being that you have such a broad base of knowledge. Like, I mean, pretty much everyone is gonna want someone like you. So you're gonna have a
I appreciate
tough,
that. I'm
tough,
gonna cut
tough
this
decision.
out. Just that one snippet. I'm cut it out. Put on. Like you want me.
Definitely.
But I'm gonna
Um,
keep you posted on my transition. So I think we'll be transitioning roughly the same time.
okay.
So I'll definitely keep you
Yeah.
posted, keep everybody posted on how the transition works out and whatnot. Because I think it's just interesting. Like, because people on the civilian side, they know what they know. You know what I mean? And like for
Right.
us, we know what we know, and then just it's weird crossing over. So
Right.
like now I have a off duty job, right? So I teach. And every now and then I'll learn something new, like, oh, you can't do that as a civilian, or
Right.
they're like,
Right.
oh, that's frowned upon. that's,
Right.
that's how we talk.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
it's
It's
definitely
kind
going to
of
be different.
kind of crazy you say that. I've been going through transition class this whole week. Like most of the times with the military, you don't have the SFL TAP situation.
Right.
At least for the Army, it's called Soldier for Life, TAP, like transition program,
Yeah.
assistance program. I've been doing those classes this entire week. So I really got a kind of baseline knowledge of like what to do, what not to do, what to say, what not to say. Been kind of getting
Right.
coached on that the entire week. So yeah, I know you're gonna have that opportunity as well. I'm doing as early as possible just because I know what I want to do, and I know what area I want to go to. That was kind of my next question. So in the transition, I know you're still going through that as well, but just
Mhm.
based off of the knowledge, is there a specific area you would say like part of the country. Like, hey, if you want to, really grow in this field, you need to be in this area.
Oh
That
man.
that
So
that
right,
from your knowledge you recommend.
yeah, right now it's all over. So like for me, I plan on going back into Florida.
Got it.
So I'm from Buffalo, New York, but my last assignment was in Florida.
Mhm.
I have some roots there now. I want the kids to be some stability because I've been moving around a lot and what have you. But it's blowing up already in that area. So your L3s, your Harris's, USAA,
Right.
City has headquarters, Verizon has headquarters down there. Like there's a multitude of different organizations just there. But tech in general is uh, has always been blowing up, but it seems as though this past 10 years, especially with what's going on with cyber attacks and what have you, like
Right.
there's pockets everywhere. So like I know South Carolina is blowing up. Miami is starting to blow up again. Like Miami already
Right.
had a tech explosion. It's a double tech explosion. They're
With,
blowing up. Um, your North Carolina, like especially around like Fayetteville, like that
yeah.
area,
Yeah.
like
That's where my parents are.
that's always bank, right? So the Fort Bragg area. Um, you have obviously when you get closer to the North Capital Region areas, when you get from Virginia and you work your way up, but even West Virginia, um, I've seen job advertisements in Colorado is pretty big on tech. You have obviously Seattle.
Right. Yeah.
Um,
Oh yeah.
I think Microsoft, because I don't know if you've seen, there's the skill bridge, the MSSA
Oh
through
yes. I've
Microsoft.
been tracking that for a
Yeah.
while now. Yeah.
Yes. So like they're looking for Washington. They're looking for Washington State. They're looking for North Carolina, South Carolina. You really can't go wrong anywhere.
Absolutely.
But I would say uh, pick a coast or go for a Carolina.
Right.
But Texas is blowing up.
Oh
Like
yeah.
I've seen
Austin. Yeah.
a ton of different advertisements for Texas. So I mean, you really can't go wrong.
Absolutely. Yeah. So me being in Texas right now, obviously the goal for me is Atlanta. I recently saw that Google and Microsoft are building up their campuses there, as well
Yeah.
as a bunch of different companies. So being I've been tracking MSSA for a few months now, probably about 6-7 months. So I'm like, MSSA would be great to be in DoD Skill Bridge, but I've also had the opportunity through networking to have other companies reach out to me, like VMware. They reached out to me. Someone from Microsoft reached out to me, and so
Okay.
just about different things. So I'm like, this networking thing going great. Got to keep it
Right.
up. 16 months left. I can do a lot of things within that time. So, to kind of end my line of questioning, my last question is going to be, do you offer mentorship?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So that's where this show came from, right? So we were doing the other side of the firewall. So I do it with two really good friends, Shannon and Levon, who I worked with when I was in Virginia at the enterprise
Right.
level. We just kept that friendship going. But the Ask A CISSP came from people sending me questions. So people would
Right.
reach out to me and say, "Hey, what about this? Hey, what about that?" So I was like, you know what? I've been sending out a bunch of emails and through LinkedIn in-mails and all that stuff. I was like, well, I'll just turn to a show. You ask me questions I put out there for everybody because a lot of the questions were similar.
Right.
And then, as you can see, it's starting to evolve. So when Tish reached out to me, Tish Harper, which everybody should check out that episode, like great personality. She's going to be the world's best pen tester of all time. But she reached out to me. I said, well, what's your question? She was like, no, I want a conversation. And that's when this show kicked into high gear, I believe, because it was cool the way it was. But like, I think this is amazing. Like they actually see your expressions, like see your questions being answered. And then there's going to be people who are on the other end who get to see it. And you're showcasing your personality, your passion, as well as the knowledge you currently have. So it's a living resume.
Absolutely.
So it just makes LinkedIn even that much better, I believe. So yeah, if anybody wants to reach out for mentorship or whatever, definitely hit me up. If you're watching the video, you know where I'm at. So hit me up. Like if you ever have any more questions, I definitely want to get you back on. So I plan on having everybody I've had on again as you
Absolutely.
move up through your cybersecurity journey, right? I want to see where you land and what your thoughts of cybersecurity are once you're in the industry.
Yes.
So I yes, definitely mentorship, definitely continue to tune in, ask those questions, and I might have you on the show.
Yeah, well, I definitely appreciate you having me. I appreciate James for referring me. I appreciate you having me. I've been able to sit here and ask all my questions and learn a lot and really just speak to your experience and kind of guide myself on where I want to go. And I'm appreciative, really appreciative of you having me.
Yeah, definitely, man. I appreciate you being on, right? So um, I think this will definitely showcase your talent, your passion. Like some people are just getting into cyber because they chase the money. Like money is good. Don't get me wrong. It's only gonna get better. Um, but it's the curiosity. I think that's what will benefit you and everyone else the most. Like just being interested in this stuff because it is never static. It's always changing.
Right,
Like this is what got me to stay in IT, or else I'd be trying to be somebody's therapist right now, which is
right.
good, which is good. But like I wouldn't be as fulfilled as I am now. Like I love this career field, and I can't wait to see where it goes. A decade, 2 decades from now. Like it's honestly amazing. Even the bad stuff that happens, the ransomware and stuff like that. You like that? I never thought of that.
Right.
Like I didn't know you could do that. So it's that cat and mouse, that spy versus spy type game that also piques my interest. So um, definitely, man. Thank you for being on. Thank you for having some really good questions. So I definitely will be sharing those separately in the future. So definitely be on the lookout for Jarvis Bryant, as he, uh, smashes through cybersecurity, does his thing.
Absolutely.
Definitely hit him up and ask him questions because you're very knowledgeable already. So like for people who are trying to do their transition, like they should be asking you questions. I might have some questions for you off camera.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, but to land this plane, right? So, thank you for being on the show. Thank you for all those who are listening and watching. Definitely like, share, subscribe, hit a bell. There's a bell involved or whatever. We're on LinkedIn. We're on IG, and we're on YouTube. And Anchor puts us out to a multitude of different podcast platforms. So it's probably something you listen to. We're on it. So either the other side of the firewall, where we do episodes Monday, Tuesday, our topics. Wednesday is our discussion. Friday is everything else but cyber. And then Thursday episodes are these, the Ask A CISSP. So I can't wait to see who we have on next week. So uh, Mr. Bryant's stuff will be in the description. So where can they find you at though? Like if somebody wanted to hit you up right now.
Right now, I'm on LinkedIn. I'm not really in social media like that, but LinkedIn, I have my email attached to my LinkedIn as well. So I'm
Okay.
available. Email, LinkedIn, just contact me.
Okay. And we'll
And
have that
thank
in
you
the
for having
description
me.
as well. Yeah, definitely. You can hit me up. So whether it be just to give me some feedback on the show, or if you have a question at RY Security Guy, that's RY Security Guy. And I'm on LinkedIn, Twitter, Clubhouse, and TikTok. So stay safe, stay secure.
Thank you.